What's up everybody, Vinith here and welcome back to my YouTube channel Daddies. In this video, we're gonna compare the cameras on the Honor 7X and the one present on the Moto X4. So without any further ado, let's get started. First thing first, let's get the camera specs out of the way. The rear camera setup on Honor 7X has a dual camera sensor setup, out of which the primary sensor is a 16 megapixel and the secondary is a 2 megapixel depth and extra light sensor. There is no aperture or pixel size information provided by the company, and the main camera has a phase detection autofocus for faster focusing. The rear camera can shoot videos up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it doesn't have any kind of stabilization whatsoever. It has a single LED flash, and that sums the rear setup on Honor 7X. The front camera on Honor 7X is an 8 megapixel sensor and does not have any LED flash. It provides flash through screen. Now let's move on to the camera setup on Moto X4, which is slightly different. The rear camera setup on Moto X4 consists of 12 megapixel sensor with f2.0 aperture, which also has a dual autofocus pixel sensor and 1.4 micron pixel size. The secondary sensor is an ultra wide angle 8 megapixel sensor with f2.2 aperture. The secondary lens provides 120-degree field of view and it has 1.12 micron pixel size. Both these sensors are accompanied by a dual LED flash that adjusts the color temperature with the help of one amber and one white light. Here also the main camera has a phase detection autofocus. It can shoot 4K videos with 30 frames per second. However, there is an electronic stabilization provided at 1080p at 30 frames per second. The front camera on Moto X4 is a 16 megapixel sensor with f2.0 aperture and it has 1 micron pixel size. It is accompanied by a single LED front flash. Most important thing is both these cameras lack optical image stabilization. Design wise, I think the Honor 7X is quite safe because of those smaller camera bumps, but the Moto X4 does look stunning even with that additional flash at the back. Pricing wise, Honor 7X has been priced lower, starting from 13,000 going all the way up to 16,000 rupees, whereas the Moto X4's starting price is 21,000. It can go up to 23,000 rupees. I have already covered the camera app aspect, the depth, the variety of options like color picker, light painting, etc. in their respective camera reviews. So if you have not checked those, I'll leave a card up here and link in the description. Go check that out. It has a detailed information about its camera app and I will not repeat that here, because what is important is camera quality between these two, and that can be seen through the samples. So without any further ado, let's just dive into the samples. Please note that I have clicked all these photos in auto mode and with auto HDR turned on. In good lighting condition, both these cameras produce some nice pictures. The colors on the Honor 7X are on the cooler side, whereas the colors on the Moto X4 are a little bit on the warmer side. While the sharpness and details on both these cameras are really good, but I like the dynamic color range on the Moto X4 more. The shadows are not that harsh or dark and it performs better when you are clicking pictures against the light. The color saturation on Honor 7X is on the higher side, which can be good in some cases, but in the case of Moto X4, the saturation looks just on point. HDR mode on Moto X4 really does some magic, and I see that the sharpness and details are improved in case of Moto X4, whereas on the Honor 7X, the image doesn't seem to get improved significantly. In extreme low light conditions, the Moto X4 tend to produce images with better details than Honor 7X. While this is happening, both these cameras try to keep noise as low as possible. When it comes to artificial lighting, the light sensor on Honor 7X try to capture the details, but we see images with slight yellow tint, whereas the Moto X4 shines here as well, bringing as detailed image as possible with true color tones. Now coming to the portrait photography, this is the area where Honor 7X shines. In most of the cases, Honor 7X can clearly identify the difference between the foreground and the background object, whereas in the case of Moto X4, it's kind of a bummer in most of the cases. But since this is a software feature, we can expect some updates from Motorola to fix this. Moving on to the video side, the Honor X support 1080p resolution at the max at 30 frames per second, whereas in the case of Moto X4, it is 4K at 30 frames per second. However, the Moto X4 doesn't have electronic stabilization at 4K, it is only supported at 1080p at 30 frames per second. If you compare the 1080p footages from both these cameras, then I think the Moto X4 is clearly a winner. Moving ahead to the front facing cameras of these phones, Both cameras click some decent selfies. The ones from Moto X4 has more dynamic color range, more natural colors and overall better produce. But that is only because of that 16 megapixel sensor as compared to the 8 megapixel sensor on Honor 7X. The flash on Moto X4 also played its role well as compared to the screen flash on 7X, which looks like a gimmick. One plus point that Honor 7X has that it provides depth mode while clicking selfies. Here we can see some good images, even better than the portrait mode available on Moto X4's main camera. This is all handled using the software and Honor has done a great job here. Here is the 1080p footage from the front facing cameras of both these phones. So this is a camera test for Moto X4 that you see on the left. I'm sorry about the noise because there is a road nearby. But here you can have a dynamic range of colors because it's a mall and it's Christmas time, so they have decorated all that stuff. Oh, so I thought this will give you a fair amount of idea how both these cameras work. Here also Moto X4 has a better video quality, but the microphone quality could have been better. So to conclude, except the depth mode or the portrait mode, the X4 has an upper hand in every department, be it images or videos. But if you compare the prices, the Honor 7X costs 13,000 rupees and Moto X4 costs 21,000 rupees, 8,000 rupees more than Honor 7X. This could be a deal breaker since the images from Honor 7X aren't bad at all. Plus the heaps of options its camera app supports can be a cherry on the top. If you have a higher budget, then Moto X4 can give you a good result, except that portrait mode. But hoping Moto would provide a camera update to resolve this. If you're into tight budget, then Honor 7X is the best deal in the market right now for the cameras. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hit in the comments if you like to see more comparisons like this. Drop a like if it helped and subscribe to my channel for quality tech content. This is Vinny signing off. You people have a great day and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace!